Hey everyone, and welcome to a special edition, episode 19 of Music is Everything. Each week I take a musical idea and I unravel it. I talk about it at length. It could be a fact or an opinion or anything like that. And then I throw down and really get deep into it, and I connect it to things in the world. If you like Music is Everything or my other podcast, Music is Not a Genre, or anything on this site, channel, as always, please take a moment to subscribe above. Please also take a moment above that to check out my Patreon page. The link's there in the banner, patreon.com/music is not a genre. I would really appreciate your support and to be part of it because, well, you're going to find out why. It's kind of important for you to go check out that Patreon page. If you've been digging what I've been doing, this week is a wrap-up of all of that. It's a wrap-up of the year. It's a wrap-up of this particular podcast and of my other podcast, frankly, and of everything that I've been doing this year. So as always, I'm going to read from a text here and then quick talk. It's going to be a slightly shorter version of this podcast because I'm recording this during the holiday season of 2020 and there's a lot to do, and you have a lot to do too. This will be my last podcast of any kind for 2020, and you'll hear about some of the changes that are coming in 2021. So let's do this quick check-in. You ready? Here it is. If you just want to read it, take a frickin' picture. Yeah. All right. Every so often, I like to pause the madness and check in. Do a state of the onion. Talk about what layers have been peeled away and which ones are yet to come. What a metaphor. I'm not going to add my voice to the thousands of others who need to reiterate what a year it's been, 2020, unexpected suffering, discovery, triumph, etc. All of it's true, and all of it's been said, and there's nothing in particular new that I can add. So I'm just going to get right to the meat, the onion meat. Nothing gets the fire burning like clarity, and nothing creates clarity like constantly working. In the last 12 months, I've done nearly 70 podcasts, over 75 gigs, most of them virtual, and released 5 albums with my band, Rec, amounting to over 30 songs. It felt awesome. But what was it supposed to add up to? Especially in a year like this. I'm a firm believer in the best way to learn how to swim is to jump in the pool. I mean, have a few basic survival skills down first. Then frickin' get to it. And once you're in, keep swimming until you figure out where you're headed. It's exhausting, but all that muscle you build will make the next leg of the journey that much stronger and easier to map out. Toward the end of my 2020 laps, and here's where I'll end the swimming metaphor, you're welcome, a few things came clear. One is that I love talking as much as I love creating and performing music, and that there's no reason for them to be separate. Another is that there's nothing I'd rather spend my work time doing. Nothing. All this work is exhausting, but it's resulted in a world of music I wouldn't trade for anything. My performances, solo, with Rec, with C+N, the completion of Volume 1 of the Weird Objectives, which is the 5, albums that I put out with my band Rec in collaboration with other bands. Music is not a genre, this YouTube channel here. The whole concept of music is not a genre, the podcast. Music is Everything podcast, this podcast right here. My Patreon page, which I'll be getting more into in a second, it's all here. And it's all staying. 2021 may end up being a very different year, and I think we all hope it will be in so many ways. But one thing I can tell you is that everything that I've done this year, I am going to continue to do in some way, shape, or form next year. All right? But it's not all staying here on YouTube. Starting next year, I'll be shifting my focus and my hub from YouTube to Patreon. So what exactly does that mean? I talked about this in text a couple of weeks ago. I did a post on Facebook and all that. But let's get into it. What does that mean? All right, get ready. Aside from, I skipped the page. First, lots of what you see here on YouTube, it's going to stay here. So a lot of these podcasts, this one, of course, because that's where you're watching it, there's a reason. Many of the podcasts will remain. Many of the live shows will remain. And I will continue to release new videos every month. A couple, or, 4 maybe at most, including podcasts and live performances. Except for the C+N shows, which as of December 2020 are on this channel, will migrate to the new C+N YouTube channel, which we'll be launching soon, and keep an ear out for that. And all of the C+N shows will move over to there. So that's where you'll be able to find them. You can still find all the Rec music, my band Rec, here on this channel. All of the catalog, the whole back catalog, all the new albums I released this year, any upcoming new albums, you'll be able to hear all of those on the Rec YouTube channel, which you can get by going to the channel section of this channel right here, clicking on the Rec logo, and all the music you could ever want is right there. If you're looking for anything else, the things that won't stay here, visit my Patreon page, Music Is Not a Genre. Head over there because, again, like I said, that is where my hub is going to be. Aside from many of the playlists and special podcasts and performances that you see here on YouTube moving over to Patreon, such as my mini series on illusion and music, that's going to be on Patreon. Special performances like Rupert and some of the rock blocks of certain artists that I did in and out of character will move over to Patreon. Any new things like that I do will be on Patreon. Many of my new podcasts will be released exclusively for Patreon patrons. And it's not going to be just Music Is Not a Genre, Music Is Everything. It's also going to be special edition podcasts, such as live interviews with people in and out of the music industry talking about music and other things they want to talk about. How do we connect it to certain other things that they want to talk about that I bring up? Interesting, awesome interviews. That interview series is starting in 2021. Deep dive genre, deconstructing genres. I know it's a bad word here, music is not a genre, but we need to understand why it's not a genre. In order to do that, we need to take a genre label and deconstruct it and figure out where it's true and where it isn't, where it defines things fairly well and where it limits things. I'll spotlight artists, whether through performances of their music or that artist themselves doing the music with or without me. Or I'll spotlight them in a podcast and talk about their material and how it connects to other things. Many other special performances of, my music and my music with other music, my music with band members and things like that. Any live concerts I do online, if you're a Patreon patron, you get a pass to. You get a free pass to. And if you're a patron, I will take some of your requests. If there's an artist you want me to get into, an album, a song even, or a concept in music, if you're a Patreon patron, that's going to go up towards the top of the list for things that I will consider as very near future podcast or performance videos. All right. So how will that change things in the next few weeks? Right now, again, last podcast for 2020. In 2021, I'm going to take a short break from live podcasts. I'll do one here or there. And I will be taking the existing material on this site and cutting it up into chunks, clips. For example, highlights from some of the concerts that I've done in 2020, a song here, a song there from various ones. If you would like to see the full concert, that will be on Patreon. I will, do special videos announcing who I'll be interviewing on my Patreon podcast or what other special things are happening over at Patreon. I will do little clips from the existing podcasts, highlights and things that won't be here on YouTube anymore so that you know what you will be getting, all the many, many things you'll be getting over at Patreon. and I will keep you posted on everything else that's happening, any other changes. And you will start to see some of the things here on YouTube disappear. Illusion. And they will be available exclusively for Patreon patrons. And as I said, most of what I release new will also be on Patreon. I will release a podcast or two each month here on YouTube because I believe many things in life should be free, and I like to share, and I like to reach out to all of you because you have been absolutely wonderful in so many ways. But some of the other podcasts and all the other things I have mentioned will be on Patreon, and I really hope you consider supporting me for $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever it works with your budget. Believe me, it's a great family to be a part of, and it's worth it. That's it. Yeah, that's my hub. And in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the year. Find you're happy, whatever that means, and keep talking music, because that's what I'm here for. As always, my objectives are music, conversation, and connection. Thank you for listening and watching and clicking and sharing and subscribing. Thank you for checking out the Patreon page, and please do, because I want to stay in touch with you in as many ways as I can, but especially at the hub. And Patreon will be the hub. And I want you there in my home with me, as close as you can get to the real home. Thanks again. Have a wonderful rest of 2020, whatever that means to you, and I will see you in 2021.